So thankfully, Nigel Benn's comeback fight against Sakio Bika has been called off, cancelled. Nigel Benn has been suffering from shoulder injuries. I say injuries because he alluded to both shoulders in this particular video having cortisone injections in them to numb the pain. And there was a training video of Nigel Benn hitting the heavy bag, which was uploaded to YouTube several weeks ago. And a couple people posted it in my Facebook boxing group. And there was a few people, and I'm going to assume that there may be newer boxing fans or people who are not so familiar with Nigel Benn in his prime. And they saw Nigel Benn hitting the heavy bag and they said, wow, he looks quite good. Whereas I commented on that same post and I said, he looks absolutely terrible. Like it was shocking to me to see how awful Nigel Benn looked on the heavy bag. He looked like a guy who had just started boxing last week. His footwork was all over the place, and there was this weird way that he was throwing the punches. He seemed as though he didn't have the ability to articulate his shoulders the way that he normally would, because he was avoiding throwing hooks. And even the left hook that he was throwing was almost like a jab come left hook, which was nothing like Nigel Benn when he was fighting, who would throw proper hooks. So now that he's come out and said that he's had these shoulder injuries that have caused him to pull out of the fight, it makes perfect sense, because the way he looked on the bag, he looked as though he was someone who was trying to avoid moving his arms in a particular way to throw correct hooks. Or maybe he can't. Maybe, he's had surgery or whatever the case may be, and he can't articulate his arms like that anymore. I don't know what it is, but I just remember watching that footage of him in the heavy bag and commenting saying he looks absolutely awful. It amazed me that there was people who thought he looked good on the heavy bag. Some people say, well, he's a 55-year-old man and he looked good for a 55-year-old man on a heavy bag. Yeah, good for a 55-year-old man on a heavy bag who's never boxed before. Maybe. But for a guy like Nigel Benn, who's kept himself in shape ever since his retirement, I can assure you, Mike Tyson is around that age, right? Mike Tyson looks a hell of a lot better just doing a little bit of shadow boxing than Nigel Benn looks right now. And they're around the same age. Even Lennox Lewis, when he's having a little move around showing people what to do, he looks a hell of a lot better in terms of his technique and all that compared to that. Nigel Benn looked terrible. I also commented on that post that this is going to end in disaster. Thankfully, I was wrong, because the fight has been cancelled now. So hopefully it won't end in disaster. Nigel Benn says he's handing over the reins to his son, Conor Benn, who's looking like a member of the Bloods right there. The way he's dressed. But yeah, I'm glad that Nigel Benn has decided to finally call it a day, realizes that his body just can't do the things that it used to do. It was vanity that was, his ego, his vanity, his pride, which tricked him into thinking he could do things which he obviously can't. And his body told him, nah. So for me, it's a good thing, because if he was going to come back against someone at this age, the only way that I wouldn't be deeply concerned is if he was coming back against someone of a similar age, like a Steve Collins, maybe a Roy Jones, although Roy Jones is going to be in better shape than Nigel Benn because Roy Jones didn't retire that long ago. But yeah, someone like a Steve Collins, maybe a Chris Eubank Sr., but to be fighting a Sakio Bika, nah, man, that's very, very dangerous. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out.